What's going on, everybody? Coach Stefan. So I'm here with Whitney. She just finished a 6-month program. She was actually one of our full scholarships. So if you guys don't know, Pursuit usually biannual. Sometimes we do it quarterly. We give partial and full scholarships away to our first responder everyday hero community, which is awesome. We want to pour back in. So she actually won one of our full ride 6-month scholarships, and she did great in our program. She got to work with Coach Mike. So I'll have her introduce herself, and then we're going to just have a conversation on uh, what the program was like being in it. So do you mind
Okay.
introducing yourself?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Whitney. Like he said, I'm a law enforcement officer. I got the scholarship, thankfully. That was such a blessing. And I got to work with Coach Mike for a little while, 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. So Coach Mike is one of our tactical performance coaches. Total badass, really good dude. Has some of our best physical performance and physique transformations in our program. I mean, all our coaches are good, but I love Mike. So when you first joined, let's kind of just rewind 6 months ago. What prompted you to be like, hey, I want to apply for this scholarship or just get coaching in general? Because obviously we have hundreds of clients that don't get the scholarship that are in our program. So what were you looking for when you first started?
Um, so 6 months ago, I was actually deployed overseas. I was in the Middle East for a little while, 11 months actually. And this was towards the end of I had like 4 months left, I think, in the Middle East when I picked up training. And ultimately, I was just working out and not seeing any results. I've been an athlete my whole life, so I kind of felt like I hit that peak in my career where I'm trying to diet. I'm doing all the workout plans I know how to do. I'm programming myself. I have a little bit of a background, but not a whole lot. I'm a master fitness trainer in the army, and I'm like, man, I need to be able to help people, and I can't even help myself. Like, I can't get myself to where I want to be. Not that I was crazy out of shape or anything, but I was in decent shape, but not where I wanted to be. So, I got to talk to Mike and told him my goals, like, hey, I want to be faster, stronger, and lose like 10 pounds and just shred up, essentially. I'm already in pretty good shape. I have a decent base. Like, throw at me what you got.
Yeah.
And Mike was super creative, gave me a bunch of different nutrition plans, a bunch of different styles that I could choose from. Um, what I really liked about Mike, though, is that he wasn't, this is what you must do. And he didn't give me just one plan. He gave me like multiple options. Okay, like here's the revenues I want to take. What do you think is going to be best for you? And he was super flexible, I guess, is what I'm saying. And that was super beneficial for me in the nutrition world. Obviously, I was overseas, so I didn't have a ton of options. I didn't get to go grocery shopping. I had whatever was at the DFAC, so I would just tell Mike, like, hey, man, this is what I have. This is what I can get consistently. This is what I can't. And we just kind of worked around that. And he was super knowledgeable in all aspects. And um, while dieting, but like still having to perform, obviously, I was, in the Middle East, 120-degree weather sometimes, so I had
Yeah.
to eat enough to perform and survive, but also like trying to shred up. So um he was able to like meet all the needs that I wasn't able to figure out.
Yeah. So it sounds like there was a lot of collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. My That was just my nutrition plan that I just spoke about a lot. My workout plan, that was super awesome too. Again, in the Middle East, don't get to just pick whatever gym I want to go to. Kind of had to work with what I had. And I was in a couple different areas at a couple different places, so in the Middle East. So I wasn't always consistent in the gym equipment that I had. So
Mhm.
I could like hit Mike up, a day or two before mission, like, hey, I'm gonna be in another country for the next week. I don't know what equipment I'm gonna have, but when I get there, I'll let you know. And as soon as I got there, I take a video of the gym, and he's like, okay, cool. This is what you're gonna do. And it was just like constantly adapting and overcoming. Um, he's just a super great coach. And when I got home, I had him for like 3 months. And again, super adaptive guy. I'm a law enforcement officer, so sometimes I get mandated to work 16 hours a day and I don't get to hit the gym.
Yeah.
And, I'd let him know, like, hey, man, I just got forced over. I'm not gonna be able to hit the gym today. Like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, don't sweat it. He's not a coach that's like, dude, you have to get into the gym. Like after your 16-hour shift, I expect you to be in the gym. Like that wasn't
Yeah.
the case. He was like, hey, Whit, pump the brakes. You're good. Don't worry about it. Like he kind of calmed me down to say like, hey, we'll hit it. Instead of taking off Sunday, we'll just work out Sunday. No big deal. Not a big deal. So he was just a super great coach and super easy to work with. Just a human. He didn't talk to me like I was an idiot. I had a little bit of knowledge on stuff, but when I had questions, he explained things thoroughly. And overall, I'm just super, super happy with my results. I Probably, I only lost like 10 pounds total, but I'm 5 feet tall, so that's a lot of weight for me.
Yeah, that's what you wanted when you came in. You said 10 pounds.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, I started out at like, I think like 140, 148 pounds when I started, and now I'm down to like 134 pretty regularly, but I lost like, I think I started at like 34% body fat. Now I'm like 26% body fat. So I got down, and what Mike does works, and the
Yeah.
program's awesome.
That's awesome. I love all that feedback. A lot to unpack. I'll respond to all of that. So, number one, for those of you watching, you mentioned two things about the customization for sure. I mean, that is super clear that it's not a cookie cutter program, right?
Right.
And number two, the collaboration. And for those of you that don't know, we have like three pillars of our program. Number one is the customized training and nutrition. Number two is a lot of, it's kind of like three in one: communication, accountability, and collaboration, which you got all three. And then the last part is the community and the education. And right there, clearly you got all those things, right? Number one, we understand working with you when you're deployed and you got all these things. I mean, you had really crazy like schedule and all these things. Some people in our program, it is more sustainable, but a lot of them, it's just a cluster like that. And that's why you need to collaborate with your coach and say, hey, what are we doing this week? And it is kind of moldable and adaptable week to week. And here's why we do it. Number one, we know the community. And number two, that's what I do. That's what Mike does. Like, do you think that my training just stays the same and I just have this perfect schedule? No, I'm not a cop, but even as a business owner, I'm working 16-hour days and I got kids and all these things. And if you looked at my calendar, you'd be like, dude. So it's not a perfect thing. And I have to mold and adapt because if we're like, it has to be this way, that's where this community really falls off the wagon because we are structured and we are regimented. And then we're like, all or nothing, right? And so I'm glad that it adapted to you. And then another thing that you mentioned is you came in decently high level. And although we work with a lot of clients that are coming in at, I don't know, 4 to 5 out of 10, they're just not doing great. They got 40 pounds to lose. They're really, maybe struggling. They have a lot more work to do. We work with a lot of higher level people in the military, some SWAT guys, some people that are, 6 and 7 that want to be 8, 9, 10, right? They want to get that last little bit. A lot of type A high achiever, go people like yourself. And so we get that. And everybody's going to be a little bit different. And a good coach should be able to like take somebody that's a little bit lower level and go at their pace and work with them and challenge them. And somebody like you, give you some more options and collaborate with you. Like, hey, we could do this or we could do this. And we understand, right? You work a 16-hour shift. I'm not gonna be like, well, you didn't get it in. Yes, that's why, because I get a lot of questions like, what makes you guys different with working with, this community? I'm like, well, I'm in the industry. I work with a lot of coaches that are like bodybuilding coaches. They're like, get it done. They don't understand. And so I'm glad that, he gave you the knowledge, he gave you the support, he gave you the guidance. Now, this was, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first online coach you worked with,
Yeah.
right? Did you have some skepticism going into it? Like, I know you got the scholarship, but were you like, oh man, how are they actually going to help me going online?
Sure, yeah, definitely. I think my initial thought was like, how is this guy gonna know what I can do and how I do it if he's not with me physically, you know? Like that was definitely a big concern of mine. Like I know when I train people, like my soldiers and stuff, I definitely struggle if I don't see them, one, because you don't know if they're being truthful. Two, there's a couple factors to it. So I was like, I don't know how this guy's gonna do with me, but I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. And thankfully, I'm grateful I took the chance and got the scholarship and was able to work with Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a question I get a lot, right? Like cuz I'd say 90% of our clients have never worked with an online coach. So you and basically everybody else. And yeah, if you're like brand new to training, you never done it, we still have those people successful in our program. Is it more of a challenge? Sure. But the people that have like a fitness background, whether it's advanced or just moderate, they do really well because and I totally understand. We train in person for 10 years. Mike still does some in-person stuff. I get it. But I think the big thing for this community is not just the training aspect. I mean, that's important, but we take a 360 approach. We look at your sleep and your stress and the shifts you work and your nutrition, and it's a very 360, which actually is done way better online than it is just in person. Because when you're in person, it's just that's it, just the hour, and then they leave, and you don't have any idea what they're doing. So yeah, there's an honesty policy, there's the accountability, but for a lot of our clients, it's like you're getting a scholarship. You're like, hey, you guys are doing this for me. I'm going to report. I'm going to be honest. And for our other clients, they're investing their money. Like, why would they just not do it? And we don't
Sure.
have that problem. We have a really high level execution. And obviously, you're in our community. So you see the results aren't just you. Every
Right.
Wednesday, we're posting our wins. I want to touch on that and ask one question. obviously you've seen kind of the community, the wins we post every Wednesday. When you look at that, like what are kind of your overall thoughts? I mean, is it just you getting results? Is it a bunch of people or
It's a ton of people. Yeah, there's a ton of people out there speaking highly of it. I mean, physically, you can see the result, whether people post progress pictures or not, or even just see some people randomly throw a shout out like, "Hey, this is what I did this week. This was super cool." And I'm like, you know what? If that 50-year-old, 40-year-old, 30-year-old dude can do it, I can do it. It's definitely supportive and it makes you, want to be better. Like, okay, this guy's getting it done. This guy's in my world. He's whether, like you said, military, he's something in my field. If they can do this, I can do this too. It's just like, I guess, hope.
yeah, no, for sure. And we have every spectrum, right? We don't work with a lot of super young people, but we probably have like a few 25, 30-year olds, like within that range, maybe even a little bit younger, like new firefighters or new cops, single, no kids, nothing, all the way to 50-year-old dad with three little kids and his wife works full time and he has a second time job. Yeah, I mean, that's even for me, I'm like, dude, okay, pressure's on. And sometimes being part of that community is really good. If you're competitive at all, if you're a high achiever, it's like, well, I can't make excuses. This person's getting it in, they're making it happen. They got a crazy life. And I think it's good for this community to be part of that because the number one thing that I hear, probably as you guys can guess, is, man, I'm just so busy. My schedule's crazy. Like this is the barrier. And it's like, okay, but he's doing it.
Right.
Like, so that means that there's hope, right? Like, there's a solution. You might not know how, it's okay, but like he's doing it, which means it's possible. So
Right.
let's just ask, how is he doing it and start solving it for you? And that's where the three pillars come in. Let's create the custom program, training and nutrition for you, your schedule, physical capabilities, goals. Let's collaborate with you, hold you accountable, guide you, educate you, and put you in a community with people that are supporting you. So it sounds like you got all of it.
I did. I
Um,
did.
Aesthetic, you hit your goal. Performance, you hit your goal, and maybe a little bit beyond. And that's important to us too, because a question that I get, and probably that you had, is like, what type of results are going to get in this program? And our kind of coin term is, well, we're going to help you burn body fat, build muscle, and increase your performance at the same time. Not
Right.
necessarily within the same week, but in your face. Sounds like you did all that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I scored the highest on my ACFT the Army fitness test that we have to take. I scored the highest
So,
that I've ever scored on that. I just increased in everything really. I mean, my strength got, I'm the strongest I've ever been, probably the fastest, close to the fastest I've ever been. Like, and I'm 30 now, or almost 30. And that's like, I was a cross country runner in college. So like, I know how to run, but
mhm.
I'm definitely arguably the fastest I've ever been. And my physique looks like I'm back in college. Like, it's awesome. I'm super happy with my
Epic.
results. Um, and not only that too, I think a piece that you mentioned that's super important is that like it didn't stop, right? Like my program stopped at the beginning of this month on like the 9th of March and now it's the 20th and I'm here still like working with the program and the things that I learned. I'm still practicing all the um habits that I was taught and I'm implementing all these I'm still drinking a ton of water. It doesn't just stop because I'm not being trained anymore. I've created a habit. I've created a new understanding of nutrition of like what works for Whitney and what works for my body. So
Mm.
I think that knowledge piece is also huge, like getting to work with that coach and understand your body, not just the typical stuff that you look up on Google, like, hey, how do I lose weight?
Yeah.
Don't eat carbs. And I completely derailed from that. And that's what I've been doing that wasn't working for me. And then I started incorporating some fasts and some unique things that I didn't have a lot of knowledge about. And that 100% changed, my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the big thing. And I say this all the time because I mean it. It's like, I don't want to train you guys forever, each person. Like, I don't. But in order for me to be like, all right, you need to go, like, cool, high five, we're good. Good, Whitney. Awesome. We did our job. Sweet. We have to educate you, right?
Yeah.
There's some education. And the education isn't just like read this textbook, blah, blah, blah courses. It's not that, right? It's working with your coach and
Right.
him explaining, hey, this is why we're doing it. You're like, oh, I didn't know that, right? Like that's the education, which is why be like, well, just give me a course, just give me a program. I go, dude, if a lack of information was the issue, don't work with us. Like go to chat GPT, Google, it's all free. That's not it. You have to work with somebody that explains things with you and works with you. And so I'm glad the education and the habit. Because and here's the cool part about our program. What you said, that portion, I know for a fact that it works because we have people obviously that have left our program, you and tons of other people over the last 2 to 3 years. and we talk to a lot of them. Coaches still have relationships with them and they're doing super well on their own. Like this isn't a, yeah, I did 12 weeks and I got lean. And then 6 months later, the holidays hit and I'm back on. Like this is a lifelong things. And that's why we work with a lot of our clients for 12 months or 6 months, making sure that they're sustainable. Right. And we even have some clients that continue for even a couple of years because they want to. But even those people, I'm like, less accountability, less check-ins. Like, let's push you out to get more self-sufficient because nobody wants to pay for a coach forever. Nobody should need to get coached forever if we did our job. So that makes me super happy. Like gold star for Coach Mike that he got you to that point where you're, I know it's only a couple of weeks, but I guarantee you if I check in with you at the end of the year, you're going to be crushing it too. So,
For sure.
okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know this is helpful to hear just some genuine feedback from somebody else that's done the program. And yeah, just keep crushing it. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the
Yeah.
scholarship
Thanks.
and the opportunity too. I mean, I'm grateful for you guys also.
Yep. Of course. Cool.